can you just tell me a little bit about your boat that you've been fishing on lately? I mean, I'm really curious about the Livescope, the fish finder you picked, the motor you picked, and why.
First of all, the way I got into the inflatable system was I was getting old and I wanted something very, very light. And I fell in love with the i9, but the problem is it doesn't have any way to add attachments, and I'm all about attachments. So I built a wood plate that the seat sits on top of, and the plate doesn't move, and I could attach all of my tackle, including the Livescope, the Garmin meter. When the Yak Attack crates came out, I immediately fell in love with those. And so all of the Livescope stuff for the black box computer, I'll explain that, and all of that sits in the crate. And then Garmin just came out with this electric trolling motor. I was very happy with this system with the Livescope. I was having a fabulous time, but I was limited in how far I could go on lakes, because it seems like all the lakes I like to fish, you're going into the wind to go home. And it's hard to pedal into the wind. So I discovered that once the trolling motor came out, and that was in October, then I had to build a plate that would hold that, and it turned out that I could just use the plate I was using and make some extensions.
Now, what's a typical, and just this season, what's a typical day for you on the water? How long?
8 hours.
8 hours. Ah, that's great.
8 hours, yeah.
Now, you were telling me that when you were pedaling, you were getting 6 hours, and now you've extended it because you're having so much fun.
Well, the length of time on the lake was in many ways a function of when would the wind come up, because on all the lakes, if the wind is going to come up, it's going to come up by 2. So you often want to quit about 1. And now, I don't care about the wind. Then I've been fishing now with the Livescope and with the electric motor, and I can fish any of the San Diego lakes and go anywhere. And I do go anywhere.
Well, the thing I like that you were telling me about was that you still have your Mirage drive, so when you get there, you're quiet, you're able to fish those areas real efficiently at a slow speed. But then you have the Garmin to get you home quick.
And then I'm just on the Mirage drive, just continuously pedaling. My legs are up on the Mirage drive probably for 6 of those 8 hours, and I'm comfortable. The Garmin Force Current Kayak motor has 20 speeds on it. I spend a great deal of the time on 20 when I'm using it, because like, let's say this whole building was the real estate I wanted to fish. I'll do all of that on the Mirage drive. Yeah. But then let's say I want to go 100 yards down the lake to another spot, or a half mile or a mile or whatever. I'll run on 20, get over there, and then go back to the Mirage drive. The motor doesn't seem to care what speed I'm going. The Mirage drive being down and in the forward position has no impact on speed.
And then you have your battery in the back for the motor.
The 24 volt I could probably fish for 2 days. Right behind it, and I put, if you lift up the lid, you'll see that I put a kill switch.
Oh, a kill switch.
An on and off battery switch. I leave the Mirage drive down all the time because the spot lock, which is fantastic, because this is a completely flat bottom, the boat wants to swing 180 degrees, and when you put it on anchor lock, it cuts that swing in half. Common for me to get into a position and go, oh, crap, I've got the wrong, the wrong lure on. So I'll just hit the spot lock, and now I don't have to pay any attention to where I am in relation to where I want to fish. It'll just hold me there while I'm busy rigging, and then when I'm ready to go, I'm back. If you use the Garmin remote control and you set the Garmin motor just in the straight position, you can steer it with the Mirage drive rudder perfectly. You have as much steering as you could possibly ask for.
So, Chris, you remember when Larry Lauman was in the shop and we were talking about this Livescope thing he had, and he was fishing the crappie, and he could see him and he could cast, and all of a sudden I look over at you and you're going, now wait, what did you say?
When he brought it up, I go, done deal. I think I owned one a week later.
No, it was less. It was the next day. How's that working out? I mean, you've spent the last year or so really diving into.
It's been, believe it or not, it's been a couple years now. Time is going faster for us than we realize. I have a lot of experience with it now. And
Chris, what is that fish finder? What's the exact model?
the UHD series with a 9-inch screen, and it is plenty big enough. For Livescope, I believe the smallest you would go or be able to go would be a 7-inch. This is a 9-inch, and then they make 10-inch and 12-inch. The sweet spot between the price of everything, the amount of real estate it takes up, and how well you can see everything, I believe is the 9-inch. Bass boaters who are much further away from the screen are going to 10s and 12s, but this 9-inch folded up fits inside the crate.
And this crate is
it's the medium.
And that's the 13 by 16.
Yeah.
Right.
For what I'm doing, it's perfect. 3 Naqua 20-amp batteries, and I can fish all day. The black box that's integrating all those photographs, all those pictures, it uses twice as much juice as a screen. So I use one for the screen. That will start out at, let's say, 1235 volts. After I've charged it, I'll measure it. And then at the end of 8 hours of fishing, that will be down to about 1130, something like that. 1125, 1130, 1135 volts on that. The black box will pull that same battery down to about 10.2 volts, and at that point the battery isn't powerful enough to power the black box, and the screen will say, so the black box is called a GLS10, and the transducer is an LVS34. So the GLS10 black box that uses twice as much power will suddenly say on the screen, transducer not recognized. You've lost it. So basically it's lost juice. And that's exactly between 7 and 8 hours of fishing. Exactly at 7, 8 hours. And so I will turn off my screen, turn around, hook up my third Naqua just to that, because the screen one is still just running strong. I'll hook the other one up and then turn it back on. I'm back in business for however much longer I fish, which is usually just an hour or two at max.
So tell me about how you use it.
So I was on a lake on Friday. I ran across the lake. There was a big boulder, and I wanted to experiment with throwing a jig. So I pulled up and I used my Livescope to see what the depth, because I had a choice of boulders and stuff. I used the Livescope to see if I could see any fish, how deep it was, how deep the water was in front of the boulder. I made my first cast and felt the thunk. I set the hook. It was about a 2 1/4 pound bass on my very first cast. I'm not blind casting anymore.
Right.
Blind casting works, especially if you know that it's a good spot and there's likely fish. But I'm literally casting on spots where I have just seen fish moving. It's pretty hard to give it up because you're in so much control.
I've heard that a lot from clients.
And even if the fish aren't biting, it's so fun just to see. Before, if the fish weren't biting, you'd say, is there any fish there? I don't know, maybe they're not there. But here, you know there's fish there, and you just got to figure out what do they want to be provoked into biting.
Thanks for watching. If you want a kayak rigged with a motor or a fish finder like Chris's Itrek 9, come by Fast Lane Kayaking in Mission Bay. We're experts at installations on any kayak and help you make the custom rig of your dreams. Check out these videos to learn more about kayak fishing.